My name is Mary-Margaret Bierbaum, and I am an attorney here in Santa Cruz County, and I practice all over the Central Bay and Greater Bay Area. I do both criminal and civil work, specifically now civil mediation, where I help resolve disputes. I'm a peacemaker. Feels wonderful. After 29 years of practice, being able to tell litigants you don't want to be in the courtroom, and this is why, is very satisfying to both me and ultimately to them. And in the criminal arena, I have earned the status of certified specialist with the California State Bar. So my age is one of the questions you want me to answer, and I don't want to answer that one. Objection! Irrelevant, immaterial, and more prejudicial than probative. Alright, 57, but don't hold it against me. I'm a very young 57, and you'll hear about that later. How did I get started? Well, I was a very idealistic young person, and I wanted to basically help the underdog, and I do that. I'm not a public defender. Now they're truly helping the impoverished and lower socioeconomic class, but I also am helping people that are charged wrongly with crimes. Not always. Sometimes I'm working to get the best disposition possible. Well, always working to get the best disposition possible. But I was raised with very high morals and values. You can maybe guess at what my original religious raised environment was. And I want to make sure that people's rights are upheld and respected. In fact, I refer to myself as a constitutional lawyer, making sure that the constitution of both the state and the federal government are upheld, and that the district attorney is meeting their burden of proof, proving their case, if at all, beyond a reasonable doubt. And so often my job is to poke holes in their case, and I know that job because I was a DA. I was a DA for 7 years. I started in San Benito County, kind of small county, sometimes referred to as a cow county. Then I was asked to join the San Francisco DA's office, and boy, what a change that was. And then I ultimately settled here in Santa Cruz County. And then I started my own practice in 1992. I also worked for a personal injury firm, a private civil firm, for a couple of years between. I was solicited out of the DA's office to help them with their trial load because they knew I was a good trial attorney, and still am. Now, the average California lawyer, I've heard, lasts 5 years, and I've done it 29 years. Is that because I'm crazy? Or maybe I just kind of figured it out. But I love what I do. I absolutely believe it's a calling, and it's not just a business for me, it's a public service. In fact, when I left the DA's office in 1990, I went and did some other public service work that I'll tell you about later, just to sort of fill that need that I was private now, I wasn't working for the public as much. And one of your other questions is, what are the challenges I face in this position? Well, having the district attorney and or the judge understand the uniqueness of my client's case is often very challenging. As you can imagine, the judges up there on the bench hear a lot of the same excuses every day. And the same with the district attorneys, and I know I was one. You get kind of calloused, kind of jaded about especially things like DUI cases. But my job is to bring my client's perception of the truth of what happened as close to the surface as possible, because the officer's perception is over here and the client's is over here. And if I can get the court, the judge, and the district attorney to hear what we have to say, that's very challenging sometimes, to understand the uniqueness of the situation. Some of the other challenges are police officers that are less than honest. Doesn't happen a lot, but occasionally we come across some maybe overzealous officers. And then of course there's the client that doesn't always tell us the whole truth. And I do my best to get the truth out of them, because I can only fight for their rights as well as I have the ammunition. And surprises are not a good thing for your attorney. But I can think of two cases in particular where it was important for us to get polygraphs, even though they're not admissible in court. I did schedule them, my client had agreed to them, and then the night before they each canceled, and this was over a different period of time. And that was the same client that I had had suspicions about, because I was getting single-spaced, long, lengthy emails about what happened in every minute detail, more than I would be able to remember about a situation. And the Shakespearean phrase occurred to me, "He doth protest too much." And in fact, when they canceled the poly, I realized that's probably what was going on. And then finally, with the criminal defense area of law and somewhat in the personal injury area of law, you run across clients with addictions, whether alcohol or marijuana or drugs, painkillers is a big one, or mental disorders. And then those are very unique situations on how you deal with those clients. And of course we don't know that right out the gate. In fact, I often wish we could give our clients an MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Index, so that we could decide whether we really could work with these people or not. But of course, no, that's not possible. That test is way too long. The most interesting case that I've worked on, there's been so many over the years. I'm going to mention one that had many co-defendants, and that way I won't worry so much about the client confidentiality issue. So it became known as the Honda Express case here in Santa Cruz, and it involved probably close to 25 individuals, and they were all Hispanic, being charged with stealing Honda cars out of Salinas, which is a neighboring community not in our county, and bringing them to Watsonville, which is in our county, to a chop shop and dismantling them for parts, to sell out for parts. Well, unfortunately, these young men didn't realize that the chop shop was a sting operation. And so they all got arrested. They all got charged with gang allegations because, of course, that many young Hispanic males working together had to be part of either the Norteños or the Sureños, and in this case they were accused of being part of the Sureños, which, by the way, the color blue is the significant factor. So that was an interesting little issue throughout the entire trial, preliminary hearing. So the summer of 2005, I believe it was, we had 13 adult defendants, and I was appointed by the court to represent one of them. And there were probably about 7 or 8 juveniles as well, and some miscellaneous others. 13 defense attorneys, 13 interpreters, 2 district attorneys, 2 bailiffs, a judge, and then there was a master or a mistress interpreter for the whole courtroom as well. It was a dog and pony show, and it took the entire summer, and so we actually ended up calling it the Honda Local instead of the Honda Express. And ultimately it was resolved with local time and less than a full year, so they didn't face deportation. But that was very interesting and very exciting, because we got to see other very experienced counsel like myself cross-examining each and every police officer that came forward, and we all got to do that. So you can only imagine, we had tables and chairs brought in. In fact, at one point I had to bring my own chair into the courtroom. And every day the DA would give us a stack of papers of new discovery, of new police reports. So we got quite strong moving those banker's boxes in and out of the security system every day. And something about myself that the camera person may not know. I was a firefighter for 7 or 8 years. I was a reserve with Santa Cruz City and with Watsonville City. And then I started a fire brigade with other people up in the mountains where we lived for a while. And that part of the mountains was kind of marked off in the county books as unaccessible and indefensible. So we figured we better do our best to get a fire brigade going. I no longer live in that area, but the brigade still exists and still is active and functioning. And everybody loves firefighters. What a great physical job and also public service job. And that's what I started in 1992 when I had left the district attorney's office and and wanted to still feel like I was giving back to the community, which ultimately I am still. I still have that sense of public service in my work. I also, and this is near and dear to my heart, hold infants 1 day a week, 5 weeks old to 1 year old, and their mothers are doing yoga. It's called Mama and Baby Yoga Class, and I was fortunate enough to fall into this position about 4 years ago. And not having children of my own, it's a wonderful baby fix for me, and again, a wonderful balance to an otherwise pretty cerebral job that I have. I mean, I just see source in their eyes when I look in those little infants' eyes. And one more thing I'll share with you is I do Argentine tango. Been doing that for about 3 years. I'm not particularly good at it. I'm probably a beginning intermediate. But again, there's a connection when you dance 3 songs, usually a tanda with someone, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience and a good balance to what I otherwise do. But anyway, that's me, Mary-Margaret Bierbaum. I would love to work with you guys, and thank you so much.